Mike, could you take us through 4th and 2 from your perspective?
Yeah. Obviously Sal was talked about it a few times. First it's 100% on me. Disappointed with myself for 2 reasons. I pride myself on communication and our unit on execution. You've heard me talk about execution a lot, and I failed at both of those. The total intent was to get Braxton the ball. He was balling, and I failed at both of that to get that relayed. Our quarterback did exactly what he was supposed to do in that moment. And like I said, I know what our intent was, whether people want to believe that one or not. But that's what happened. And I failed at both. And again, I have to live with that. I know I'm going to learn from that. I know I have learned from that. You can't let the same play beat you twice. And in that situation, I'm going to make sure that that absolutely does not happen again.
Mike, just to follow up on Brian's question, you said you didn't get it done there. Like what didn't happen that was supposed to happen? And secondly, the follow up to the follow up is, I think he called a play. He snapped it with about 19 seconds left. So in theory, someone could have radioed in at the last second before he snapped it to hand it to Braxton, correct? Because the communication was still ongoing.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's no more to talk about. Like it was flat out in the moment. I did not relay what we wanted to get done, and so like that's what's disappointing. It's like I told the players, I know we called the right play. I didn't get the communication done, so it doesn't matter, and the play was ran the way it was designed to go. I needed to communicate exactly what we wanted. I didn't get that done. Whether there's 19 seconds, whether the quarterback communication was clicked off, it didn't happen. And that's what I'm disappointed with. And there's no one else's fault but mine.
Mike, watching the TV tape, and I'm unclear how the operation works here. During the timeout, Zach stayed on the field, and I'm assuming you're talking to him in the helmet at that point, but he can't communicate back with you. How does that work? Like in a timeout there? Is this just you in his ear, or sometimes is he on the sideline talking to Cav?
Yeah. No, every timeout's a little bit different. This was a 30-second timeout, so this one was a little quicker. We were still trying to decide whether we were going to go for it or not. Trying to figure out honestly how far we were. I know it said 4th and 2. It was 4th and 1.5. Not a time to sneak it, obviously. That's why I can't call that play. That's why I needed to communicate what needed to happen. But didn't get done. I wasn't saying much to Zach in that instance because I was just looking at the call sheet, going through what I wanted to get done. And when we knew that Braxton was good to go, who we thought was just balling at that time, it was like, let's get him the ball. And again, it's just it didn't get communicated the way it needed to get communicated. And again, I have to live with that, and learn from that. So it sucks.
Was there any point, Mike, pre-snap where you said, oh crap, I didn't tell him to not sneak it, or was it until you saw the ball snap that you realized it?
Ball snapped.
Okay. What besides the quarterback sneak, how did you feel about the way Zach played on Sunday? It looked like, in my opinion, his best game of the year.
Yeah, it probably was his best game of the year. I thought, Zach did a good job. He went out there and he's been getting better and better every single week. And you guys are seeing that. And just, again, it's sometimes like obviously stats tell a story, but it also doesn't always tell a story. I think the eye test and how comfortable somebody is, particularly a young quarterback. And I think even people that don't know the game as much as you guys and us as coaches, I think everyone can kind of see, how much more comfortable and how much more free he's playing. And free doesn't mean just going around playing street ball. It means just running the offense. And when it's not there, making the best decision for the unit in that moment. He played well. He threw the ball well. His tempo was good. His eyes were good. His ball placement on some balls was spectacular. The in break to Braxton on the drift where the corner was all over him and holding them. what an incredible route, catch, throw, the one that he zipped into Keelan, 1st and 10 at the 19, for a rookie, let alone any quarterback in the strike zone there, 1st and 10 at the 19, to just let that ball rip within the time of the play. I mean, that was an awesome play. But before, just in case it doesn't get asked, he played well, but the guys around him played phenomenal. Our offensive line blocked well. We ran the ball very well. Our backs did a heck of a job. Receivers were getting separation against a good secondary, and that's a good defense, like we talked about all last week. And so just proud of the fact of what those guys did all last week, preparing for that game in that moment. And they did everything that we asked them to do, and they fought their butt off, and it was fun to watch.
Mike, I was just wondering if you could kind of summarize or put into words how you've kind of felt you and your development throughout the year. We've talked a lot about players, we've talked a lot about Zach, but how far you've come as a first-time play caller, first-time offensive coordinator from week 1 to where you guys are now heading into week 18.
It's hard for me to answer that one, Connor, because I feel like I've been asked that just a couple of times how comfortable I'm getting just as a play caller, for sure. It's my first time doing it at this level, obviously. But again, I just try to live in the moment, and all my worries and thoughts are how can we put whatever 11's out there in the best situation possible every single week, and not really concerned about anything else. The collaboration with our staff has gotten better and better. There's not just myself. There's a lot of young guys on our offensive staff, with Taylor Embry and Miles Austin, guys that know a lot of football, but it's their first time running a room by themselves in the NFL. So it was going to be a gelling process, for our whole staff, and then getting that worded correctly to the players on a day-to-day basis. I think I'm proud of the way those guys have grown and learned, and I can't wait to see how those guys continue to in this offseason. I think year 1 to year 2 for players is huge, but just as important is how coaches can take the next step to get those players to be the best they possibly can be.
Hey, Mike, we probably won't talk to you for a while after this, so I'll ask a looking ahead question. Just pertains to Zach. What does he have to do? What do you look for him to do in the offseason? What he might have to work on, and specifically his completion percentage, I think, is around 57. I'm wondering, in your offense, what's the ideal number for a quarterback?
100. No, I'm just kidding. That's Rich. That's a really good question. Your first question. We're going to sit down. We got a lot of quarterback heads in here, right? With John, Matt Cavanaugh, Rob Calabrese, myself. We're going to sit down first thing Monday and take basically the next 4 days and kind of work out our plan. I mean, there's certain things that we all know he needs to work on, and he's very aware of some of that stuff too. And stuff that's not even that he's not good at, just stuff he wants to get better at. He watches, and I hate to, use the word Aaron Rodgers with him, but he watches the way Aaron gets the RPOs out, and how just fast when he gets that snap, how that ball can get out so fast and with great ball placement. And I think that's something he's improved in over the last 2 to 3 weeks, whether you can see it or not. The way he's throwing those bubbles and those RPOs, I mean, that's the stuff I know I envisioned of him watching him in BYU, and it's been a process to get him, to that point. So there's a lot of things. I think for a guy from year 1 to year 2, how refreshing it's going to be for him to take a step back. I hope he doesn't touch a football, but I know he will, probably 3 days after, this next game. But I hope he takes a second to just kind of breathe, take a little vacation. He'll get back to working with John. He'll be back in Utah. I'll be in constant communication with him. And then when he comes back in April and we go back over this offense, I think it's going to be so refreshing for him to be just hearing the same things. And then we'll tweak our things and work to improve on certain stuff. But it'll be good for him and all the guys for that matter.
Mike. Zach's played well over these past few weeks. The Buffalo Bills have a really, really good pass defense. So how do you guys as a coaching staff help prepare Zach for this week so he can keep, the momentum that he's built on Buffalo Bills? Because this is going to be a tough test.
It's going to be a tough test for a lot of the reasons you said. Obviously, going into their environment, they're playing for the division. which is going to be a cool, great experience and environment for us to go into. From the crowd noise before the game, or before the play, just handling all that pre-snap stuff, that I talked about, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, controlling the stuff that we can control, and we can control that. We can control the crowd noise by being tight in the huddle and by communicating and getting these guys prepared throughout the week. So they are the number one pass defense. I think 7 weeks ago when we played them, we talked about that. A, how talented they are, but B, how well coached they are, in my opinion. And this is no disrespect to anyone else, but I think the best coach defense in football right now. They're in year 4 or 5 or whatever it is of that staff basically being all the same guys. I'm sure there's been, a guy here or there, but with Sean and Leslie and I know some of those defensive coaches, but also on top of that, not only is it the same coaches saying the same message each year, it's a lot of the same players that have just been gelling. I mean, like I talked about 7 weeks ago, they don't have to even signal anything to each other. They just know. They know where they're going to be, and it's a problem, and it's tough. And it's tough in their zone coverages because there's a little bit of space, and if you're a hair late, they're going to close up that space. It's tough in their man coverage because they're very good at man coverage. They're very sticky, and they're good at covering tight ends. They're good at covering receivers. They're good at covering backs. They don't have a hole in their pass defense. So it's my job to work and put our guys in the best position to be able to beat those coverages, and Zach's job to deliver the ball, and our guys to make plays when that ball is in the air.
We'll take a couple more for Coach. You
mentioned John Beck. Just how much of a kind of a side benefit of hiring him in October is this, that now he'll be able to kind of just take what you guys have been pushing and work with him the next 3 months instead of going off and working with a private coach like it usually happens. These guys disappear for 3 months from you.
Kaz, seriously, that's an unbelievable question. And John and I were talking about that the other day. Just like, John's played in the league. He knows kind of what's going on. So, it's been big for him just to see how the NFL's changed and stuff like that. So he'll be able to use that to his advantage and work with John, or work with Zach in the offseason.
Would you like him back on the staff next year as well? Is that something you guys would like to keep that relationship going?
We'll tackle that when the time comes, Connor.